I am Chayra Estrin, fourth generation American, parents raised in suburban America with everything they wanted, vacations, nice homes, good incomes, but they felt something missing from their lives. After years of traveling, searching, questioning, they separately stumbled upon traditional Judaism. The depth and spirituality that they felt running through the everyday life felt right. They met and decided to marry and raise a family in modern-day America, but with the traditions of Shabbat, mitzvot, and building a meaningful relationship with God as the heartbeat of their everyday lives. After marrying, my husband Ellie and I chose to move to Seattle to open a Chabad house for students at the University of Washington. Although we hosted a wide variety of programs, the centerpiece of our program was Shabbat dinner. Every Friday night, we opened our hearts and our homes to the Jewish students at the University of Washington. Shabbat is a game changer. It's a gift in our hectic lives, a time to pause from the craziness and the stress and focus on what really matters. What life is really all about. Sitting at a candlelit table, delicious dinner with family and friends, taking time to pray to God and spend time with our community. This is the message we worked hard to show our students. That despite the craziness of their workloads, their midterms, their football games and parties, they need to take time to nurture their souls. They need to take time to touch their Judaism and think about their relationship with God. Over the course of our 13 years at the University of Washington, we were blessed to help bring the beauty of Shabbat to thousands of Jewish students. But little did I know how much I would come to need and value Shabbat in my own personal life. 2.5 years ago, my husband and I were faced with every parent's worst nightmare. I was pregnant with my 6th child in what seemed to be a healthy, uneventful pregnancy. At 30 weeks, I had a routine ultrasound. Obviously, it was a routine ultrasound, and everything seemed to be okay, so I went to this appointment myself. Now my viewers are mixed up. Sorry. The ultrasound tech wouldn't reveal any information, but I noticed the tense silence in the room and the multiple scans of the baby's heart. My anxiety deepened as the tech got a second and third pair of hands and eyes to scan. Go home, the doctor will call your midwives and give them the report, I was told, at the end of that hour-and-a-half scan. In the parking lot on the way to the car, I called my husband. Ellie, I said, I think there's something wrong with the baby's heart. I took a deep breath and proceeded to explain my gut feelings and reasoning. After explaining that the midwife will call with the results, we tried not to worry prematurely and get on with our day. The day happened to be Hanukkah, and we had a big party planned for our students that afternoon. Later that evening, as we caught our breath after our student program, family menorah lighting, gift-giving, dinner, the midwife called, who unfortunately confirmed my fears. There is something wrong with your baby's heart, but I'm not a doctor, she said. You'll have to see a pediatric cardiologist who specializes in prenatal diagnosis. Taking her number, we took a deep breath and left a message for an appointment. And then the waiting game began. A week later, after a 3-hour ultrasound and echocardiogram, we found ourselves seated around a small table in a doctor's office, an empty room with a box of tissues as a centerpiece. The doctor proceeded to explain that our unborn baby had 4 critical defects in his heart. On top of that, there's something wrong with his digestive system. His esophagus is wide and we can't find his stomach. Okay, we swallowed. Is there anything that can be done? We learned that there were surgical options to fix the heart defects, though obviously complicated and not guaranteed. We were told there had been 1 to 2 documented cases of survival for babies with this combination of heart defects. Okay, there's a glimmer of hope. But with the stomach missing, there's really no hope, the doctor concluded. We asked a few questions, were handed a stack of papers, sketches of the heart, which we did not understand, and a follow-up appointment was made in a month to repeat the imaging, and we would make a decision about the fate of our unborn baby. To say we left this office shaken was an understatement. Now what? We wiped our tears and dug deep. We needed a plan, some hope, a grip tape to hold on to get us through this huge challenge. Shabbat became our lifeline. Beginning with lighting the candles, the stresses of the week, the unknown, the fear, it all began to melt away. Even if it was temporary, lighting Shabbat candles became my personal moment to talk to God, to thank Him for what He had given, and to beg and pray for the future. It made me focus on all that I did have. I had 5 healthy children, I had a supportive husband, I had a home, I had food, things that we easily take for granted. It became my time and place to recognize and celebrate that the world doesn't just exist by chance, but God is the mastermind and constantly involved in every detail of my life. And it forced me to really believe and rely on God. It also gave me a place to connect to God and to really pray, to beg God for a miracle and the strength to face the future. After lighting candles and pouring out my heart, I was filled with a sense of calm. The next 24 hours were a time to celebrate what we had. Shabbat dinner, talking to our children, no appointments, no homework, no deadlines, just a time to breathe and enjoy each other's company. And as soon as the Havdalah service was made, concluding Shabbat, the stress of the coming week started making its way into our lives again. So back to our story. We went home and made a list of now whats. We were committed to fighting for this unborn child, and we decided on a twofold fight, spiritual and physical. From a spiritual side, we prayed. We asked people around us to pray and take on mitzvot in the merit of our unborn child. We checked our mezuzahs, which are connected to health, and my husband made a trip to the Rebbe's Ohel, his gravesite, to pray. And on a physical side, we got a second opinion from Boston Children's Hospital, who unfortunately agreed with the Seattle team. And we found a local doctor that would take on our case as advocates to us. And then we just waited. Our next appointment proved the same grim news as before. There was no hope for an outcome for our baby. Our baby had half a heart, essentially no heart-lung connection. In addition, there was no stomach seam. Armed with this information, we sat down with a rabbi and a doctor to find out our halachic obligation as parents. After confirming that there's really no hope for a successful surgical option, the rabbi told us that medical intervention is not necessary because surgery will not be successful. Just let the baby go. And so we resolved to hold on for the ride ahead, expecting and preparing for a journey of pain and sadness, but hoping and praying for a miracle. The next few weeks crept by with each appointment full of sad faces, questions about how we wanted our baby's last moments to be, and reminders that he might not survive birth. Going through those 9 weeks of pain and fear, being told your unborn child will not survive didn't really leave much hope. Honestly, the only way we were able to get through each day was to let go of control and recognize that God is in charge. He has a plan and we're just along for the ride. Being in that place where you have no choice but to let go of your control was freeing. It caused deeper and purer prayer, really from the depths of our being. One day during that long waiting period, I was sitting on the couch and thinking of this unborn child, the heartache, but also what message do I really want to believe? And then it hit me, a name for this unborn child that has no future. Nitanel, God gives. I may not feel it or like it, but this too is given by God. The same God that gave me all the good in my life also gave me this challenge. It's up to me how I will take it. Will I grow from it or will it wither me? Not every moment's going to be easy, but I committed to try and grow. To really remember that this challenge is Nitanel, given from God. February 8th, a Monday morning, the day of induction, finally arrived. The plan was to repeat all the testing once, and if the baby survives and if the results are the same, we will not pursue futile open heart surgery. We will hold and love this baby for as long as he's here. Well, our little guy survived birth. He was given a shot of prostaglandin, which keeps his heart-lung connection open, and the tests were repeated. After an hour, we were handed our beautiful blue tinged baby back and left alone. The tests were the same as prenatally, we were told. It's just a matter of time. It could be minutes, hours, but don't expect longer than sunset. Knowing that every moment a soul is in a body is accomplishing something, we sang and we prayed and we cried. We tried to fill his few precious moments of life with positivity, love, and holiness. Well, our little guy wasn't going to leave us so soon. We were told Seattle Children's Hospital wouldn't take our baby's case because there was no hope. We weren't going to be sadists and put him through open heart surgery just because. So we sat. Later that night, about 20 hours of life, my husband suddenly realized we have to feed this baby. According to Jewish law, you can't withhold food and oxygen from a person. Knowing that our baby didn't have a stomach, we asked the nurse about an IV. I'll ask the doctor, the nurse told us. Our doctor, our advocate, came in and told us, probably the best news we heard. Your baby may actually have a stomach. I think he has a condition called heterotaxy, which means his internal organs are all mixed up. So he might have a stomach and it could just be somewhere else. You can try to feed him. This was the best news we heard. And we carefully fed him, truthfully unsure whether this feed would kill him because he had no stomach or satiate his hunger. Well, he ate. And every 2 hours after that, he demanded that bottle. So now what? Here we are with a baby with a super messed up heart, undiagnosed digestive issues, who's living when he shouldn't. Seattle Children's Hospital won't take him. We have 5 kids at home with my mom, who, being amazing, had to go back home to her house in Ohio. After a few days of waiting, we took a deep breath and agreed to sign our baby into hospice care. Just as a formality, we were told, so that when he does pass away at home, you won't have a police investigation on your hands. Okay, on Thursday morning, 4 days after his birth, we took our little Nitanel, or Nissi as we called him, home. There's a lot of tension and sadness and a lot of letting go and realizing we are not in control of this crazy journey. We tried to live in the moment and love this baby that we didn't think we'd get to hold. Come early Friday morning, 5 in the morning on the West Coast, and little Nissi's crying for his bottle. Exhausted, stressed, it's delivered and spilled all over the bed. Apologies and a second bottle, and my husband is wide awake while I'm feeding this sweet little baby and dozing off. This is crazy, he says. We're literally waiting for this baby to die and doing nothing. And so he got on the phone and began looking for a solution. Maybe there's a center that's cutting the edge. Maybe there's someone who will take him when others won't. He got in touch with a doctor in New York who told him, if your baby is still alive, there is definitely something that can be done, and it's your responsibility to do it. My husband got off the phone energized. He had a mission. He called Seattle Children's Hospital and asked them, maybe there's something they can do to stabilize our baby till we find a center that will agree to take him. He's still alive? Asked incredulous doctor, the original prenatal cardiologist who diagnosed us. We were told you didn't want to do surgery. We'll take your baby. We never turn anyone down. Talk about a complete 180. We went from being completely out of options to having one. Knowing the stats were still against us, at this point we knew we had to give this baby a chance. He survived 5 days with no medical intervention. He deserves a chance. And we know he has a stomach, which was a deal breaker not to do surgery. So we rushed to make arrangements for our 9 children and drove to Seattle Children's Hospital. After numerous tests, meetings, consent form signed, we were admitted to the cardiac ICU. Shabbat was quickly approaching. We had a glimmer of hope, but a very dangerous open heart surgery ahead of us. Friends bought us dinner for Shabbat, and I quickly walked down the block to a friend to light candles. I lit an extra candle for my new son. I closed my eyes and I prayed. I thought about this crazy week we just had, the fear, the pain, and yet I thought about the gifts, the easy birth, the smooth recovery, my amazing husband who got us to Seattle Children's Hospital, my healthy kids who were being rock stars, my parents, our friends and community, and God who had given us this week that we didn't think we'd have with Missy. And I prayed for the future, for the upcoming surgery, for it to be successful despite all the odds stacked against us. I prayed for miracles and for strength and for healing. I opened my eyes and the calm of Shabbat washed over me, even here and now. I slowly walked back to Seattle Children's Hospital up the 6 flights of steps to the cardiac ICU. Good Shabbos, I whispered to my husband. and I leaned over Nissi's crib and kissed his sweet head. The warmth of Shabbat entered here, even in the cardiac ICU. We enjoyed a beautiful Shabbat dinner in the parents' lounge and a night of interrupted sleep. Early in the morning, our baby was taken to surgery, and despite the fear of the unknown, we were filled with a calm. Whether it was the calm of Shabbat or of surrendering to God, knowing we had done everything we could and now it's up to Him, or a combination. The surgery was a success, but we were not out of danger. The first week post-op was filled with lots of scary moments. His chest had to be reopened due to swelling. He wasn't breathing on his own, numerous tests, medications, IVs, but he pulled through. Things began to really stabilize, and home was finally on the horizon, until one night, just shy of his 1-month birthday, we got a phone call. "We're doing CPR on your son. You better get to the hospital now," we were told. Nissi had suffered a cardiac arrest due to a shunt clotting. He was rushed to surgery to stent open the shunt and came out on ECMO, which is a heart-lung machine, which does the work of both the heart and the lungs when a patient's too sick. What can I say? That was the scariest time, but a time of humility, a time when all I could do was turn to God and cry and beg. We had a team of doctors doing their best, and we needed God to step up to the plate, and He did. It was a long week of numerous systems being hit, from being thrilled when his little fingers moved to organs showing signs of stress, such as his lungs, liver, stomach, and ending with a ruptured appendix. But he pulled through. It was 5 long and scary months of hospitalizations, multiple surgeries, countless procedures, medications, tests. During those long 5 months of ups and downs, bumps and smooth sailing, Shabbat was really our lifeline. We had a very special couple that lived down the block from Seattle Children's Hospital, and they became Nissi's Shabbos parents. They visited him, held him, and sang to him while we went home to recharge and recover. We spent Shabbat relaxing, letting go of the past week's stress, procedures, and fear. We were able to step back and thank God that we had another week with Nissi. We got to pray and ask for another week. We were able to spend time as a couple with our other children, to laugh, read books, play games, and just enjoy the moment. Our phones and our worries were temporarily turned off as we basked in the special gift of Shabbat. Finally, after 5 long months, the day arrived when we brought our Nissi home. His broken heart had been healed, or repaired. His stomach had been found, and our family's faith in God and belief in miracles was renewed to levels we didn't even know existed. It hasn't been easy since. Nissi has numerous delays and challenges that he has to face every single day. He's since had 2 more surgeries with another on the way, but he is here, and he loves life, and he literally has the best smile and spreads his love and his happiness to everyone he meets. Go on Facebook, you'll see. And Nissi's favorite time of the week is hands down Shabbat. He anxiously waits for us to light candles, make Kiddush, don't you dare put him to bed, and he will not let anyone go to shul without taking him along. Maybe he knew Shabbat kept us going through all that hard, long time. But God gave all of us the gift of Shabbat. It's not just me and my family, but for every single one of us. Each week we have Shabbat on our calendars, but it's really up to us to make it a day of beauty and celebration. A day when we step back from our everyday stresses and celebrate what really matters. Our community, our connection to God, our friends, and a day to just connect with ourselves. So I challenge all of you to this week, don't just let Shabbat be a day on the calendar, but make it a day of meaning. I have kept Shabbat, but more than Shabbat has kept me. Thank you.